Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Yes She Talks with Karly. Is it Karly Evelina or Karly Modolo? I was just about to say,
Modolo. My middle name's Evelina.
okay, because I looked at our screen and I realized I was like, I know my friend's last name, but it's different when I just tried to read it. But with my good friend Karly, Karly and I have known each other since I was in grade 11. So what was that, like 7 years now?
Sure, I'm not really good at the math. So it was 2011. So actually, that's almost 9.
Almost 10 years. Yeah, we went to Muskoka
Yeah.
together. If you're from
Yeah.
anywhere in like Southern Ontario or maybe across Ontario, typically if you're in high school in the leadership class, you have the opportunity to go to Muskoka as a leader and do like the camp with the kids. So me and Karly, our schools were there at the same time. We weren't cabin mates or anything. We were just close friends in the same friend group. And then just we ended up staying in touch. I don't really talk to anybody else from that trip, but me and you
Yeah.
just seem to always gravitate towards each other.
Yes.
And
Positivity. That's what it is.
it's always the positivity. But I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and really set the stage for like who you are before we dive in and get to know you a little bit more.
All right. Well, that's actually a really loaded question because who I am. Well, Karly, 26, grew up in LaSalle, Ontario. I guess you could say I'm very proud to be Canadian. So having you as Miss Canada and interview me is quite the honor, especially knowing you you came from such a place where it was like, yeah, I'm talking about you first because I'm just proud of you. You just came from a place where I just knew you as this girl who's kind of quiet and shy in the background. And then it's like, holy crap, she's winning crowns and she's on these talks and people are listening to her and taking her advice. And it's like, she's becoming mainstream. It's like, that's my girl. So me, just trying to keep up in a different aspect. I enjoy triathlons. I compete in Ironmans, and for those who are not aware of the distance, it is a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer bike ride, and you finish with a full marathon at 42.2 kilometers. And you have, I think, around 16 or 17 hours, depending on the location, to finish the race. So I've done 2 fulls and 3 halves, and this year I had the standard set to have my best Ironman time yet, and then COVID said, not quite yet. So
COVID said you got to prepare a little bit more.
Fun. Yes, yeah, a whole other year. Unless COVID, I don't know. I'm not really confident, though, that it's going to happen even in July of 2021. But
you know what? But you posted something, and honestly, I share this with all of my pageant gals. You posted something, it was probably in May or April time when your races were starting to get canceled, and you posted about how you were still training because your race doesn't start and end with a finish line. And I was like, that is like the quote of the year. Like, don't prepare for like the end medal or title, like prep, go as if like there's no medal in sight. That was just like the most inspirational thing that I probably could have seen at that time. And I've spread that to so many people. You're probably like, just, you don't even realize you just quoted it. You got that. That's yours.
I'm glad. I mean, I feel like I've been able to do different things this year. Like I've been so go, go, go with racing all the time that now it's like, okay, what else can I do? So I got a bit into ultra running. I did a 50K run. That was painful, but it was rewarding. I did a run with 8,000 feet of elevation. So I didn't even know Malden Park had that. But those hills are insane. And my legs were wrecked for 5 days because it was 20 miles of running with the 8,000 feet. So that, yeah, it was quite the feat. It was like 6.5 hours of running hills. But I find when you suffer, you learn the most about yourself. Like, it's like, for sure, when you leave your comfort zone, that's when life begins. So that's what I feel like is truly living. When you're uncomfortable, that's when the magic starts to happen.
I love you, girl. She's going through, like, I'm just going to let you run the interview because I'm like, damn, you're doing so good. But yes, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this talk. We want to talk about what makes people come to life, what makes people live life alive, because you're right. Like, we both saw each other in high school, and a lot of people who are going to be watching this are not pageant queens or Ironman runners. Most people probably not even run a 5K, okay? So what we're going to do throughout this conversation is really take them back to the beginning. Like, how did Karly go from you know, a blonde hair gal in high school, now Ironman runner, and
Yeah.
doing even more, conquering more runs, different runs, elevations, things, all that. I don't even know what you said, but all this crazy thing, ultra runner, those types of things. That's really what I want others to see, because wherever you're at right now, you don't know what it's going to be that helps you come alive. It could be pageants, it could be ultra marathon running. Me and Karly also ran in the Toronto Scotiabank half marathon last year together. She ran the full, I ran the half, but that was a great trip as well. Just so everyone kind of knows where our
Amazing.
friendship.
I was so proud of you. Like, that was such a huge accomplishment for you, and that was my first standalone full marathon, so it was great to share that with you. And then you had donuts at the finish line, and you just know me. That was the greatest thing, because I was so sick of energy gels by like mile 24, and my watch said that I was done before I was actually done, so that was like, a little bit tough. I'm like, I just gotta find Maria, and then I heard your voice, and I'm like, I'm getting closer. The end is near.
I'm going. And I had a donut ready waiting for her. But before we get into like even more fun stuff, I do what's called a mad minute. I don't know, you probably, if you watch from Team Never Quit.
Yes, that's my favorite podcast.
Okay, so I'm trying to be like Team Never Quit.
No, I was always hoping nobody would ever do this, because I'm like, I feel like I'll just go,
So I made the questions about you, so that way the audience can kind of get to know you a little bit better. You've kind of covered a couple of the things, but we'll go in a little bit deeper. So you can choose, it's going to be a this or that style. You can choose to describe them a little bit more if you want, okay?
All right.
So we're just going to start with regular donut or vegan donut?
Oh, regular. You got to go all the way. If you're having a cheat meal, you're going to cheat to the fullest extent.
That's true. And of course, if anyone didn't guess, Karly's like favorite like cheat meal kind of dessert is donuts. Everything in her room at one point was donuts, and pretty much
it still is.
Still is. So that's why she had to have a donut right after that marathon.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Would you prefer to run or like do one of your races in the extreme hot or the extreme cold?
Well, it's kind of crazy you say that, because I've done them in both. Ironman Florida was extremely hot. Ironman Louisville was freezing and raining. I actually think I prefer extreme heat, because my body wouldn't shut down in that situation. I would just slow down. Whereas when you get super cold, sometimes you can't warm up, and that's kind of scary. Whereas when it's hot, you have techniques to cool down. So I haven't learned exactly how to warm up when it's cold.
No, that's fair. And if anyone can't notice, it is like officially fall weather entering that, thus the fall plaid print that we have today.
I like it.
But you're right, it's funny, up to a certain temperature I'd prefer cool, but you're right, when it gets to that extreme level and when you're going for hours, like you probably know better than anyone what it's like to experience both ends of it. So very cool. Run an Ironman or run a triathlon?
Well, it depends. Like, Ironman is a triathlon, so to speak, but it's just the longer one. So I like the shorter distance. Like, half Ironman is like that sweet spot for me, because I can still train for it and have a life. But when it's full Ironman, it's like goodbye social life, goodbye friends, family. Sorry, you'll see me in a year.
Yeah, so it's like the midpoint. Gotcha. So like a half Ironman. Gotcha. Yeah. Would you prefer to work midnights or swing shift?
Oh, swing shift. I would die on midnights. I get in a point, like, I used to work at McDonald's, so when I was there, there were times where I would actually laugh uncontrollably if it was after 2 a.m. because my body just didn't know what was going on. My manager didn't like that. The customers didn't really like being laughed at, but I laughed at anything. So, yep, swing shift. I'm normal.
If anyone's ever worked midnights, that just happens. I typically get it around like 3 or 4 a.m. That's when like I slowly start to crash, and then giggles start to happen. That's what I call them. So I feel that. And lastly, which is your favorite, run, bike, or swim?
Swim, probably because that's my strength. So I'm definitely going to say it's my favorite. And oddly enough, usually that's what will get canceled the most. So I've got some work to do in the other disciplines.
I know. And have you been practicing your swimming? Like, are the pools open?
Yeah, I've been training at Movati a bit, but since I messed up my left wrist a little bit from work, I'm kind of taking, and my new eyebrows, I'm kind of taking a break from the water right now.
That's
so fair. Hopefully in a few weeks I'll be back.
Gotcha. Everyone take a break from Mo Body competition. Go to Good Life. A shameless plug. No, this is not about that. This is about Karly talking about how really, I mean, an Ironman doesn't happen in a day. Running a triathlon does not happen in a day. I want you to take me back to the beginning. Like, what was the moment that you decided you were running your first race? And what race was it that you ran? Was it a 5K? Was it a half? Like, what was it?
My first ever race, I had signed up for the Detroit Half Marathon, just like you did. It was back in 2015, and I thought, I don't know anything about running, but I want to run a half marathon. I thought it was like the most badass thing you could do. I'm like, I got this. So I was told, and I was given the worst advice ever, if you can run a 10K, you can run a half marathon. Nobody take that advice, please, because that's only like half the distance. So I ran in super beat up Under Armour shoes that should have been thrown out probably a year prior. Didn't really train past 10K. Thought, okay, my goal is to just not walk no matter what. Didn't realize that some people actually do a run walk and happen to be faster than people who just try and run straight through. My time was absolutely horrible. My body was absolutely destroyed. And I thought, all right, well, it's done, but that was not the race I was hoping for. So I thought I need to maybe start with a lower distance, humble myself a bit, get some better form, and then maybe we'll come back to it.
What was your time on that race?
I think 2 hours and 36 minutes.
Whew, that's out of the heats, that's for sure. That's okay. That's not terrible. Yeah, it wasn't like you're walking.
It's okay to say it.
not bad. I'm like, with proper training, immediately that would have been, you would have shaved off like an additional 10 to 20 minutes. Just Absolutely. Even though it was your first one, obviously. But sure. Not bad. So awesome. But obviously Detroit, for those people who don't know, we have a half marathon and you get to cross the border from Canada to Detroit and back. So you get to run through our tunnel and then run over the bridge. Very cool opportunity. I actually didn't get to run it. I was going to do that this year. It's canceled, of course. So hopefully next year, fingers crossed. Yeah. But awesome. So you knew, okay, it didn't go well, but you didn't quit. You didn't quit. Why did you decide to like sign up for another one? Because easily you could have said, okay, that was awful, not doing that again. But instead you were like, okay, I don't think I did this right. I'm going to learn and fix things up, and then I'm going to try a different one. So why did you decide to, first of all, not quit? Because just so many people, when things, I mean, first of all, signing up is the biggest step. Yes, it's the biggest hurdle. But then getting it done and then doing it again is probably like the next big mental hurdle, where a lot of people will say, well, I did that. Okay, I'm done. Why didn't you?
I think the biggest thing was because it was horrible. And I thought, I don't want one day somebody to be like, what was your half marathon time? I don't want to tell them that. I want to be like, all right, I can do better. I can work harder. Like, it was actually fun. Running up to 10K was kind of a challenge for me at the time, but knowing that, okay, you can't just run up to 10K, you have to run around 10 miles. Big difference of 6 kilometers. So I thought, all right, I'll get like a half marathon training plan. I'll figure this out. And that's what I ended up doing. In the next one, I actually did end up shaving. Well, my time was 2:21 in the second half marathon I did. So I shaved off quite a good amount. I've done about 11 half marathons now, including some in like half-Ironmans and such. And 2:01 still stands to be my best time. So that 1 minute is haunting me. I'm trying to knock that minute off. I want to be under 2. So
it'll come. And for those people, I mean, you mentioned that you're 26. Like, there are some people who start running triathlons, Ironmans. Like, I'm reading the book that you gave me called Ironman, or I Am an Ironman. And some of those people start at like 40, 50, some 60 years old. So I have no doubt that when you stick with it, you're going to shave off that last minute, or else it's going to keep taunting you in your sleep.
It's going to be a celebration when I do, believe me.
But again, we are those people who are like, we're weird. People don't like to push themselves out of their comfort zone. So the fact that we do it and we know the torture we're going to put ourselves through is almost insane to some. What makes you keep going back now? Like, what is it that really excites you? What is the number one reason why you continue to run and to compete?
I think it's just a part of who I am now. It's built into me. If I'm not training, I find I get cranky. Like, even if I just go and run 2 miles, I feel better as opposed to just sitting on the couch. I'm kind of conditioned now. It's who I am. It's what it feels like anyway. And one of the biggest compliments I personally can get, if somebody calls me psycho, I love it, because I know I'm doing stuff that other people aren't willing to. I don't take it as an insult. I take it as the biggest compliment. So that's kind of a big push for me. Somebody calls me psycho, it's like, I'm doing all right. Okay.
You're like, okay, good. People are noticing. Love that. Now, running is just one side of you that kind of helps keep this like bubbly aspect that you have. What are some other things that you do in your life? Because like how you said, all the races were canceled this year. Like, what are some other things that you do in your daily life to help you keep that sense of being alive and living your best and most authentic life?
Well, I've definitely tried to do other aspects of fitness. Like I'm back into the gym, I'm lifting again, which is kind of nice. I'm back into yoga to kind of get more centered and be mindful. And I really enjoy reading. That's my time to kind of get away from my phone, take time for myself. I don't even text anybody when I'm reading. It's just time to escape into something else. And I find that we always have a screen in front of our face nowadays. So like just like we do right now, which is
I know,
wonderful.
ironic.
This is the exception to the experience. But I find that I'm scrolling through social media mindlessly. So that's when I like to read a book, or recently I've been getting into a lot of word searches. I enjoy just sitting down and doing a few puzzles and kind of getting my brain activated. I don't like the Sudoku ones or like the crosswords where you have to fill in the words, but I like to find the words. So
no, and everyone's going to have like their own different thing. I actually just went last week. Let's just say life was like, I was speeding up. Life was not speeding up. Life is always going to be what it is. It was me that was like racing through it. I always felt like I was catching up to things. And I thought enough is enough. And I deleted my social media off my phone, and it's still deleted. I just have a couple of like commitments I have to be on there for, but if I post a photo, I delete my social media immediately after, and I only connect on social when I'm on my laptop, because I'm like, nothing, like I don't have the control. No amount of like screen time app is going to stop me from going on this. It has to be out of my sight, out of my mind, because I felt like there were a million thoughts going through my head, which there are, but I was so aware of all of them, and I felt so shaky and uncalm. And then one breakdown happened, and then another breakdown happened, and then my parents and boyfriend started asking like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think so. And for some reason, like that's where I went. I was like, I have to delete my social media right now. Like I have to be off of it, just like do a little bit of a cleanse. And then, you know, if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, well, I do that, then what? Well, then you find things that you enjoy. Now you try an activity you've never tried before. Maybe you pick up a Sudoku book or a crossword and see how that makes you feel. I started playing Yahtzee. That's a fun game.
I love that game.
Love Yahtzee on my phone.
Back to my childhood.
But the whole idea is that because this is what me and you like, it doesn't mean that that's what everyone else is gonna like. So if somebody, Karly, if you had someone in front of you and they said, okay, I got rid of my social media, I have this free time, what do I do? How do you guide them in that way? Where do you tell them to start?
I guess you'd find out what their interests are, or what they would be interested, or if you couldn't fail, what would you aim to do? Because a lot of people actually would like to run a half marathon or whatever, like more people than not, I find. I mean, nobody wants to say, yeah, I don't want to be fit. Like if it came easy, guaranteed everybody would want that. It's natural. Just like I wish I could eat healthier. If somebody said, hey, eating a donut tastes as good as eating broccoli, I'd probably still have abs right now, but it doesn't, so I don't. I don't know. I guess you just got to find what speaks to them. I find it's very important to be humbled into somebody else's interests as well. Like I love when somebody's like, okay, let's go do this. And I know I'm horrible at it. Be brave enough to suck at something new. I think that's something that I've learned because yeah, I'm strong in my sport, but take me out of my sport and give me maybe like an art easel or something. I stick to my 3 S's: stickers, stencils, and stick people. That's my drawing. So yes, I have a few little mottos. So I just find that it's nice to be humbled once in a while. So if somebody doesn't know where to start, maybe give them suggestions. And then I guess throughout their own like experiences, they'll find their own path. If they're really looking for it though, they have to really want to search themselves and figure out what works for them and what doesn't.
You're absolutely right. Since I started working as a personal trainer, we do a lot of health and fitness consultations, and I'll have people tell me about their goals and like attach it to real life experiences and emotions. And then we get to the end of it, and or we get to like our follow up, and they're like, oh, well, I like it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't like it's fine if it doesn't happen. Like, it's almost like they want it, but they're okay to settle for not having that experience of happiness and success and fulfillment, not just success in like a personal way, but success emotionally. And I don't know, like when you had said to me, like, hey, you should come running with me for my birthday, I was like, okay, like I think I can do 5K. And then from there, we ended up doing a 10K. And then you kind of eased me into it. And then the half marathon. And I was like, okay, I can do this. But I'm someone who, when I know a goal is in sight, I'm not just going to ignore it. I can't just do that. When I know I have potential and opportunity, I can't just say no. I can't just say, oh no, I don't want that for myself. So to anyone who might be listening, Car, what would you say to them if they know that they have goals that they want to do or things that they want to try? What is like your number one piece of advice? You've been cranking it out, but in that regard specifically, when people are afraid, like what, and it's easier to settle for average. Like, what is the Karly advice? What is the Karly story of telling them like, hey, listen?
Easiest thing I would say is no limits. My life motto. It's what I live by. It's what I stand by. It's tattooed on the back of my calf. It's my license plate on my car. It's branded on my bike from my bike sponsors. It is what I truly live by. I don't think you should put limits on yourself. When you start setting limitations, that's when you're going to start second guessing yourself. If you just say, you know what, I'm not there right now, but I can be, you're already living that way. It doesn't mean that you have to do the hardest, most difficult task. It just means do what's difficult for you. Some people come up to me and they're like, oh, I was proud of running a 5K. You should be proud of running a 5K. If you've never done it before, good for you. Just because I decide to run for hours and hours on end with no finish line or stopping in sight doesn't mean that needs to be your goal. Everybody is different. And one of my best friends told me a quote that I will never forget till the day I die, and it's one of my favorites. Comparison is the thief of all joy. And that, I think, is super, yeah, I can tell that's resonating with you, because especially as women, a lot of us compare ourselves, especially on social media. You see a girl more thin than you, prettier, has the eye color you want, the hair length. And it's things that sometimes we don't even realize that other people want or gravitate to. But at the same time, it's social media. It's not exactly real. There's so many filters, and there's even body contortioning apps. I didn't even know that was a thing. It's like, who has the time? Like, I'm sorry, but every girl deserves to be themselves without the filters. And I'm guilty of it too sometimes, but it's because that's what we see. We feel we need to level up, but we just need to kind of stay on the same level and raise each other up as a team.
Honestly, because if you level up in this fake way, it's going to feel disingenuous and you're not going to feel fulfilled. You're always going to have that empty void inside of you.
You're so right.
I just finished watching The Social Dilemma. Have you seen it?
Yes, that's the Netflix documentary, right?
Yeah.
I just watched that with my boyfriend, and I looked at him and I was like, I'm getting off my phone right now.
So I was like, no one look at me.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I've been watching my screen time now. I've stopped aimlessly scrolling through Facebook because I'm like, these robots are putting this stuff here. I don't even know if it's real information. So now I'm like psyching myself out, wondering what I'm reading.
Yeah, and this does not have to do just with social media, but it's about when you put your phone down, when you put like your computers away, that's really when you can discover what brings out that joy and happiness and fulfillment in you. What activities do you like to do? I like to think about like, what did I like when I was a child? What were things that I was doing? Because when we're children, you just focus on playing and doing other things, interacting with people. So it's like, what activities did you like to do? Maybe you still like some of those things, but as adults, we don't think that we're allowed to play or have fun and we have to be working and all serious, but that's completely bogus in my opinion.
You know, that's so true. Funny enough, a few weekends ago, I ran with my boyfriend. We did a 5-mile run. He wanted to run 5K. I said, sure, we'll run 5. He assumed that I was okay running 5K. Well, I meant 5 miles. So he figured that out when we hit 5K and we were still running. But afterwards, we stopped at his old grade school, and there was sidewalk chalk everywhere outside. He literally got on his hands and knees with sidewalk chalk and just started designing the whole like outside part. And I'm like, you know what? This is awesome. Like, I don't remember the last time I picked up a piece of like sidewalk chalk, or like even thought about, hey, like I used to jump rope, probably couldn't do it now without breaking a bone, but it's just the things that, like you said, you used to like as a kid. Sometimes it kind of makes you go, okay, like playing with bubbles. I still love bubbles.
Who doesn't?
Like, right? Like I was working on a job at Chrysler, and it was the window runs, and I worked in front of it. And sometimes there's bubbles that are left on the window run, and I still was poking them and popping them. Yep, exactly. Yep.
We have to bring out that childlike wonder in us again, because when you're children, you don't worry about comparison. You don't worry about like what you're afraid of. You just do the things that you enjoy. And we need to find that way to like bring those childlike wonders back to us. But I want to go back to one thing that you mentioned, like the no limits mindset. Was there a time, because again, it just seems like, oh, we've overcome so many things, it's easy, we have all like the medals and the crowns to kind of show for it, but was there a time that you put limitations on yourself? What did that look like, and how were you able to personally overcome that?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question, because for sure, I definitely put limitations on myself. I think it started when I was in school. And at a very young age, I think I was in grade 3, and I really always struggled in math. And I remember the teacher telling my mom that I needed to be in like college level studies in high school. I was not university material. I wasn't advanced material. I was, what's that middle one
like
called?
Academic.
No, the middle one, because there's essential, there's something, and there's academic. I can't remember.
It's an S. Satisfactory.
I know. There you go.
That's it.
What they literally called me, satisfactory. So that's what I grew up from grade school into high school. And then it wasn't until I realized, okay, I'm better with hands-on learning. I'll do better at college. But the fact of the matter was, my parents picked my future for me back in grade 3, all the way into grade 9, because of what one teacher said, because of one subject that I struggled in. So for me, that was really a wake-up call to think, holy crap, like this is how I'm seen. I'm satisfactory. I don't like that. So yeah, I was in college level studies, but guess what? I kicked butt at it. I made sure I had 90s in every class, even math, because it was like, no, you know what? If you don't think that I belong in university, let me wipe out the competition at being satisfactory. So I will be above satisfactory. So when it came to grade 12, I ended up with the highest overall college level study average. So I had several scholarships to go into St. Clair with that paid for most of my school the first year. But had I kept that mindset of, okay, my grade 3 teacher, who has no influence on my life whatsoever now, said she struggles in one subject, so now we're going to keep her in college level learning her entire life. And that's when
crazy. At grade 3, like what were you, like 8, 9?
I was super young. I had really hard time with multiplication, so he gave me a multiplication CD. Granted, I still have it, and one day I will give it to my kids because it's the greatest learning tool. But yeah, back in grade 3, I was told, yeah, she's not university material. So
that is amazing, because I feel like my life was a little bit like the opposite. Like we were, I mean, me, my brother, my sister were always like kind of academic, a little bit nerdy in that sense. So I always excelled in school. I got really great grades, and I had teachers telling me like, you should be a doctor, you should be a dentist, you should be an orthodontist. And now, like, obviously I went into nursing, graduated from that. I did well in school. I don't want to do any of that. Like, actually what I really enjoy doing is working with people, coaching individuals, like motivating people, which is something that, first of all, it's not on like a high school applied academic satisfactory. Like, it's not on that kind of scale. No one could have told me that. But what people were telling me, I was thinking I had to do. So I started trying to put my path towards those goals. That's what I was trying to do, because that's what people told me I was good at. Like, oh, I'm smart, I should do something that is like a smart job, or like a job that has some kind of like academic background behind it. And meanwhile, that's truly not at all what I wanted to do. Like, no one ever really asked me if that's what I really enjoyed. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess that's it. Like, oh, I'm smart, I'll do this. It was never like, what do you enjoy doing? Could you do, obviously I wasn't going to pull out of my brain pageant coaching at that point in time, but it's just amazing how when we're younger, there's already limitations put on us. And as children, like, what else are we supposed to do? It's not like you're experienced or wise enough to understand what's real and what's not real. So you just believe what others around you tell you. And I mean, if this is all people told us, okay, I can stand by that, because I'm sure that there are children who grew up just way worse, with people bullying them, putting them down, parents putting them down, unfortunately. So, you know, we definitely got off, like, look at where we are. We got off, we're doing well. But for those people who are having those limitations put on them, who maybe don't even realize it, maybe this is the first time that you're thinking like, oh, what is real? Like, what have I taken on from other people that I didn't even want to take this on? It was just put into my mindset and my limiting belief. What is your tip for them? And do you have any like resources you recommend? Because I know you like to read. I borrow your books. What is like a great book to kind of help overcome those limiting beliefs?
That's a really, like, I guess it depends on what you're into. Like, for me, I prefer like autobiographies or stories about people who kind of like you and I, just average everyday kids that decided, okay, enough's enough, and went out and did something extraordinary. I like stories like that. I like knowing that there are many people among us that do challenge themselves, because I also find on the other scale of things, there are a lot of people that are comfortable being in their own little bubble. They're okay, like you said, not reaching their goals. They're comfortable in their lifestyle, and they're not willing to change enough to better themselves. And sometimes I find that frustrating. I don't think I'm better than them, but it's frustrating when you sometimes see potential in somebody to be so great and they're not taking it. It makes you want to put your head through a wall. It's like, oh, I see so much in you. And they're just like, eh. So I would tell them, like, anything that inspires them. If they have a famous person or somebody that they look up to, even if it's a person in their life, go talk to them. You don't necessarily need to read a book. Go find out what made them go for what they wanted in life. Go take a class that maybe you've always been interested in, but thought, I can't be good at it or whatnot. Like, I actually, funny enough, the course is called Applied. You were right. When you use that word, I'm like, okay. So applied level studies. If you feel like, hey, I'm better than this, take it upon yourself to switch courses. Like, I just think that you need to take that first step. And sometimes if you don't know, ask for help.
But it's just about realistically admitting that you have the control of where you want to be at. Obviously, yes, people are going to put expectations and limitations on you, but you are the ultimate creator and decider of your life, of where you want to go. And yeah, it might, you know, ruffle some feathers when you choose to go against the grain, but when you're happy, successful, and fulfilled in yourself, and when you're doing well because of the decisions that you chose, or when you learn from making a bad decision, like, others around you don't suffer. They're not any more upset. Like, people just don't understand that our paths all look different, and mine's not going to look like yours. And you're right. Some people are not going to want to do more than what they're kind of doing right now. And I'm sure when you were saying that, like, when you see potential in people, so many of my girls, like, who are going to be listening to this are going to be like, oh my God, like, does Maria tell Karly this stuff? Because it's so true. I tell them, I'm like, you don't even know what I see for you. And the goals you set are like here, but I'm like, girls, like, your potential's up here. And they're like, where is this path? Like, where is it? I don't see it. But I'm like, just keep going. Like, think bigger, because the world is literally your oyster. You can do so much, but you have to like, just imagine the craziness and what could come into your life when you're putting yourself in that position to learn, grow. It does, again, it doesn't have to be an Ironman. Like, when you tell me that, I'm like, okay, Karly, yeah, we're working with the half marathon. That's fine. You're done over there.
And I'm so proud of you for doing that. Like, because you started with 5K. And I felt like I was encouraging you. Like, I thought, oh my God, she has so much potential outside of what her pageant life. Like, she can be this trifecta. And like, you've got it all covered. I know. You literally smiled too. When I saw you, you were so happy. You didn't even look tired. And part of me wanted to hate you for that, because I was absolutely exhausted.
You're like, get out of here.
I couldn't even walk. So I was like, okay, she's smiling. She's walking. Oh, she's in a better state than I am right now.
I had a good recovery. I had a good coach. I had a good coach. That's what I'll say. But in all honesty, after that, I remember thinking to myself, like, this was great, but that means that the next thing I got to do is a full marathon. Like, in no way did I want to think that. In no way did I want to go down the long, dark path that led to the other half marathon where the full marathoners were going. But in my mind, I'm like, I have to do it because I can't do the thing I've already accomplished. I need to do something I haven't done.
So you're definitely on the path to where I feel right now. I'm struggling to find out what I want to do for myself and what I feel I have to do for other people. So I obviously doing the full, I thought that was going to be like the holy grail. I'm like, a full Ironman, holy crap, I did it. But after it was done, I almost felt depressed, which confused me. And a lot of people don't understand that, but after something of training so hard, so many hours every day for an entire year, and then it's done, you're kind of lost. And it wasn't until I did another one, and then I was lost again. And I thought, okay, I can't do this cycle. There's something up with this. So I had to be okay with not being okay with it. So in that sense, I was like, all right, it's done. What's next? But I always thought about what's next. I think it's important to celebrate your victories instead of always wondering what's next. Because I've done that so much for almost 3 years now. This is the first year where I'm like, I'm doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because it's a goal of mine, not because it's like, oh, that person's done like how many. It's crazy when you go to an Ironman now, people don't ask, oh, you're doing an Ironman? It's how many have you done? Excuse me? It's like,
You're like, I thought this was it. Like,
it's 140.6 miles. So now saying, okay, I've done 2, I signed up for a 3rd. I'm going to be completely honest with you and everybody listening to this soon. I didn't want to do a 3rd, but I thought I had to. So now that I'm $1,100 Canadian invested into this, guess who's going to do a 3rd Ironman? But then I told myself, okay, I'm going to stick to what I enjoy and go back to halves. So after this year, I was truly excited to go back to just doing what I enjoy. But obviously, one more loop around, and I'll finally be okay with saying, yeah, you know what? I've done 3. Triple threat. That's it.
exactly.
People who have done 30, 40, 50, you know what? There's always going to be somebody who's done more than you, but there's always going to be somebody who's done less. So that's how the world works with everything, whether it's making money, whether it's their job, whether it's whatever. There's always going to be somebody better than you. And when there's not, or it feels like there's not, that's even more pressure on yourself. So sometimes when I lose, I'm almost grateful, like, okay, you know what? Because now I have another level to reach. Because when you're at the top, you can't really go anywhere but down. So it's kind of nice to make it gradual.
Yeah, I love the process more than either getting or losing like the goal, whatever it is. I will always enjoy the process more because I've won and I've lost, and afterwards it's still the same. Yes, when you win or when you get the medal, you get the crown, it's exciting, but then now you're like, oh, well, now I'm like this thing, and now what? Like, is anything changed? So win or lose, I enjoy the process leading up more. I love the feeling of butterflies in my stomach, like wanting to vomit because I'm so nervous. I would prefer that, like, because that's the feeling of like working towards it and like you're excited and you're preparing, and when it's done, win or lose, it's done. Like, that's it. The process is over.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, it's so easy to be like, okay, well, now what? Like, my butterflies are gone, like my passion, my motivation is gone. But it's really important to sit in that knowing who you are. Go back and read, do those crossword word puzzles, because those are going to be the things that ground you and remind you, okay, life's a journey. It's not all about just goal, process. Like, it's okay to sit in a moment and not be working towards something every single moment of every single day. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely.
It's a lot. And you're right. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of time, a lot of money to invest. It's worth it, but trust me and Karly when we say, know who you are, and the other things are going to come.
Yes.
I think
you can't expect greatness to just be from what you just achieved. You have to know who you are before and be okay with the outcome after.
And
which I know you for a fact are, for sure. Like, You have such a positive attitude, like you said, win or lose. Like, you have handled yourself with the most poise and grace. And I've definitely disagree with a lot of your judges in some of the pageants, and I've wanted to throw them through a wall. Not that the people who have won aren't deserving, but I see such a genuineness to you, and it's definitely something that I don't think a lot of contestants actually have. I think a lot of it is it seems more forced, but with you, it's a natural want to help everybody, want to be there for other people. And it just shows by doing something even like this. Like, you're always inspiring and motivating. And it's like, the fact that you wanted me to do this, it's like, wait, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, even when I talk to my boyfriend, like, oh yeah, Miss Canada's interviewing me. And he's like, I love her. I'm like, I know, right? Like, who doesn't? Even my mom, when I told her I was doing this, she's like, I love her. I'm like, yeah, that's everybody's response to you, because you're just that genuine person. You don't compare, you don't compete in that sense. Like, yes, in pageants, but it's totally different. And that's something that I look up to personally, because I feel like you have a level of confidence I'm still trying to get to.
And that's why I'm here. I'm doing what I can. And I love all of that. Thank you for saying all that. Mom, Bay, Car, everyone who said that, thank you. Obviously, that's very sweet, very, very sweet. But for me, I think like the biggest thing is whenever someone says like, oh, like Miss Canada this, or Marie was Miss Canada, I'm like, it doesn't faze me. I'm like, it's almost, it was a sash I had. It was a title I had for a year, but it's not me. Like, I've done so many other things, and I'm like, I don't even think that's the biggest thing I'm gonna do. I'm like, there's more to it. So it's about, like I said, just always just knowing who you are and moving forward without that, because that doesn't make me who I am. It's just one thing I did. And if you thought that was something, we got more.
Just get ready.
Get ready. I feel like this is just like a little bit of a Maria like toot her horn session. So hopefully everyone realizes.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, because it's true. Everything you've done, you've deserved. And I think that a lot of people, like myself, I've done some races and stuff where I felt like, yeah, I'm hot shit. But now I'm looking back going, you know what? I was good in the field I was competing against. But you take me when I went to the World Championship, I was horrible. I did not belong there. I was a fish out of water. I couldn't even swim well. Everything was just horrible. Definitely a humbling experience for me, but I wouldn't have changed it, because it made me realize, okay, you're going to have your good races. You're going to have your bad ones. You're going to compete against people that are worse than you, and you're going to compete against a whole bunch of people that are way better than you. Especially, like, even older people were blowing by me on bikes in some races, and that's what it is. But like you said, I am not triathlon. It is a piece of me. It is something I enjoy. It's something I'm passionate about. But there are so many other parts to what makes you whole. And you got to find that, because if you don't, that's when you're going to get stuck and get lost. That's when you're going to be like you said, where's my path? What am I doing? Like, I can't see it. That can be scary for sure.
That is when you're going to be asleep on your potential. And that's what we're trying to do with everything that we've talked about, all the inspirational quotes, the tactics, the mindset. We are trying to help you wake up so that you can live life alive too. Okay, had to get the slogan in there. I think that's what we're running with. But in all honesty, I think that's just a great note to end this, this chat on, because oh my gosh, I hope that who's ever listening, they've already put down their phone, laced up their running shoes, and started to go for a run. They're like, yes, I gotta go.
I'm proud of anyone who did. It's amazing.
And absolutely, I'm like, don't even finish listening. If we inspired you even a little bit to do something more, please let us know. My DMs are always open. Karly's DMs are always open. Yes, like anyone can go to you. And
yes, absolutely.
Perfect. I'm going to leave your social media below if anyone wants to follow you and be able to cheer you on whenever the next race is, but just cheer you on in your daily life, because she's got more coming. We don't know where she's going, but she's got so much more to her. And if anyone's thinking about racing, Karly, can they contact you for like tips or guidance or anything? Because man, you've done it all.
Absolutely. I mean, my biggest goal in life is to inspire other people, just kind of like you. Like, I enjoy it. So anybody at all, please reach out. No question is a dumb question. Believe me, I've asked them all when I was coming up and learning everything. So absolutely, 100%.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, Karly, for being on the Yes She Talks
Thank
talk
you.
show. This was a great episode, and I hope that everybody has a very great day and that you enjoyed getting to know my gal pal, Karly. And overall, hope that we can see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.